Yes, guys, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel. And tomorrow night, Chelsea head to Elland Road to take on Leeds United in an actually really important game, not just for Leeds, but also for Chelsea as well. You know, one win in the last 5 games for the Blues, still looking to secure that top 4 position, which is not quite done yet. Obviously, FA Cup final week as well. You've got Leeds to get past first before moving on to Wembley on Saturday. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how the guys approach the game, you know, what the team selection will be like. You know, who's going to be rested, who's not going to be rested. Will everyone be giving it 100%? No one's going to want to kind of pick up any injuries before the big game on Saturday. Plus, you know, things off the field are taking, you know, a turn for the better. Todd Boehly is done. Just, you know, a few little bits to tick off before that can all be officially confirmed and we can start planning for the summer. You know, transfer stuff already hotting up a little bit as well. So, yeah, there's plenty to discuss, and I'm delighted to be joined by Pys, bro. Thanks, as always, for coming on. Appreciate your time. Things not been so great on the pitch recently, but we're going to start off the pitch. Obviously, Todd Boehly has been in attendance for a few games. He was at Wolves on Saturday. What exactly is left now before this is kind of officially all done? What are the little bits that need to be tied up?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. First off, glad to be back on. Thanks for inviting me. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting next couple of weeks. I do expect it to all go through before the 31st. I think it's obviously government approval. The Premier League owners and directors test needs to happen as well. And then I guess the main thing, the stumbling block or potential stumbling block, is just trying to figure out when or where this money goes to. Like, does it get frozen into an account, or, you know, is it a foundation or a charity gets set up? I think that will all need to be clarified as well. But yeah, I expect it to be done in the next couple of weeks for sure.
Again, that's the most important thing, done as soon as possible. We're not going out of business. We've got an owner in place, and we can kind of start looking ahead to the summer. So yeah, obviously not a lot left to do in regards to kind of the final little official bits. In terms of looking ahead to the summer potentially, reports coming out that, you know, Todd Boehly's set to spend big this summer, you know, to revamp the squad. You know, obviously he wants Chelsea to very much remain winners and to win, and he wants to invest in the squad. I mean, Tuchel asked in the presser today whether he has any idea about the summer budget. Obviously, him and Boehly haven't even met yet. So obviously he said no to, you know, any ideas of what the budget might be. Do you believe Boehly's going to make significant funds available this summer? Because obviously, well documented, we need to reinvest in the squad a lot. How much money are you expecting to be made available? Do you think Boehly's going to go big in his first window?
Well, yeah, again, another interesting point, because you have to factor in stuff like FFP and obviously Chelsea. If we qualify for the Champions League, which we're hoping we can take a significant step to tomorrow night towards doing that, you obviously get, I believe, 50 million for entering the Champions League, finishing top 4. So whether or not that goes towards the budget, that usually does, I think, in previous years with Chelsea. So yeah, I mean, I'd still expect us for what we need to do, or, you know, the bare minimum, we need 2 centre backs. Now, you're not going to get 2 top quality centre backs for much less than 100 million, in my opinion. Right? Even if you was to get, say, Kante and Koulibaly, who had been supposedly linked to, that's at least 80 to 90 million there. So, to be honest with you, I can easily see us spending 150 million plus, maybe even 200 million, depending on player sales. Like, I could see that being comfortably done, because I think if you look at some of the players that could go from Chelsea, like Timo Werner, you could make probably 40 million back from him. Jorginho, you might make 20, 30 million back. Few others that have been linked away, maybe Ziyech, maybe Alonso, players like that. You know, you might be able to gain significant amounts. And let's not forget as well, there's always a chance that although Todd Boehly, like Thomas Tuchel and everyone around the club, they always want to integrate youth players. But at the end of the day, you know, you could see the likes of Conor Gallagher, Broja potentially being sold, even though it looks unlikely. It could happen if, you know, if Crystal Palace come in with a £40 million bid or £45 million bid, Gallagher wants regular first team football. We've seen it happen before. That could easily happen, especially if, you know, not struggling, but you could add to the budget even more and help us cover more areas. But yeah, I think Todd Boehly will go big in the first window. It's always quite unclear with, like, how much can you actually put into the club. Like, it's quite hard. It's not like the old days where you could just hand a manager 200 million or something. There'd be no repercussions. Like, it's different nowadays. But I do think he'll financially support Tuchel. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think it's really important as well. And I think Boehly, you know, he knows, what needs to be done. He's seen the task firsthand, having been at the last few games, that, a lot of reinvestment is needed. Before I just quickly get on to a few of those names, obviously it broke yesterday in the Times that for the time being, Marina and Bruce Buck will both be staying with the club. What would you make of that? The right thing to do in the short term, maybe long term, maybe look to bring the director of football, change things up a little bit. Bruce Buck, obviously, a long association with Roman, as Marina does. I'm not sure if I'm a massive fan of Bruce Buck, to be honest. I felt, he's a bit cowardly in terms of the Super League, and in terms of also not really coming out at all during this sale process to face up to any questions publicly, leaving a lot of it to Tuchel. I wasn't a huge fan of that. Firstly, mate, do you think that's the right thing to do, to keep both of them here? And what are your thoughts on Bruce Buck in general as well? Because I think we could probably do with a new chairman.
I think because we're in May now and the window opens like first week of June, I believe, or maybe second week, I think it's going to be quite hard, even if Todd Boehly wanted to kind of employ a director of football, get rid of Marina Buck, get a new chairman, like all in a month while he's trying to take over the club. Like, I just don't see it as a realistic thing or the right thing to do personally. Like, I would have Marina for a transitional period. I'm not too sure on Buck's day-to-day role, but Marina, we all know, is going to run the transfers and negotiations. She has to stay for at least one more summer. And it gives Boehly a chance, and not just Boehly, but Bedad Iqbali from Clear Lake, anyone else involved in the major decision, I believe it's those two, they can assess her and see what she does. So, I think it makes sense for her to stay a transitional period, but it's just interesting. I think they both will eventually leave because it's like they just keep talking about a transitional period. They don't ever talk about beyond that. I mean,
No.
a lot of it's going to come down to Marina at the end of the day, whether she wants to stay. But yeah, I know that they want to make additions anyway. Like, I personally know that. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, as you say, not enough time to do that now. It makes sense with a big transition of ownership, quite a lot of upturn and turmoil in regards to that. You want to keep everything else kind of as settled as possible structure-wise. And then, in the coming windows, look to maybe implement your own changes, change the structure slightly as you look to build forward. So definitely makes sense in the short term. Mate, moving on to transfers then. Obviously, Erling Haaland signed for Manchester City. Things are starting to creep up a little bit. Sadio Mane, Bayern Munich interested in him. From a Chelsea perspective, and we're always linked with players. The latest one in the centre-back position, you mentioned him earlier, Koulibaly from Napoli. Now, this guy seems to be mentioned to get a move to the Premier League every summer, and it never seems to happen. He's in his 30s now. This could be an opportunity. This might be one of the last opportunities he gets to leave Napoli, potentially. Chelsea, well known for needing centre-backs. Do you like this? I mean, he's a leader. I think he's a good player. He'd be relatively cheap, per se. Do you like that move? Do you think he'd settle in well, be a good addition to kind of what we've got already?
I think he would, to be honest. I keep talking about, I keep stressing this as well. If you're going to get Kunde and you have potentially bringing in Colwell, we still have Chalobah. That's a very young defence. I know we've got Thiago Silva, but if Azpilicueta leaves as well, you need someone else experienced for the second centre-back signing, in my opinion. Don't really rate these Paul Torres and Vardiol links. I know they're good players, but in terms of fit and what we need, for me, you can't be relying on a 36-year-old Thiago Silva whose first language isn't English to, command the back line and kind of there's a lot of young defenders we've got potentially coming through and that we'll be signing. So yeah, not if Rudiger leaves, when he leaves, we do need to replace him with someone like for like. I mean, Koulibaly, for me, the hype has not, it's kind of died off, but that's only because the fact is that Napoli, ADL, Aurelio De Laurentiis, never wanted to sell him. So if you wanted to buy him, you never could, because he just outright refused. It was always 80 to 90 million pounds and things like that. So it was kind of ridiculous. But now he's got 1 year left. I think it could be a sensible option. I think maybe 30, 40 million, something like that. But again, he's 30, 31, something like that. He's turning 31 soon. It's, he's not the ideal age, but he's an ideal person in terms of leadership. And I still think he's very good play. He's very, very good on the ball. So yeah, I'd be open to that.
Yeah, I think I would as well, to be honest, mate. I think we've got to be smarter in the market as well. It might not be like a big name like a Delict or, someone up and coming that's exciting, but he's someone that's got the experience. He's been around the block. I think he'd adapt to the Premier League well, and it would be a smart signing. A bit more experience, as you say, to go. We're losing experience in Rudiger, probably losing, obviously not as much experience, but we're also losing experience in Christensen as well. So, it's great to be linked to these young up and coming players, but actually big game experience at the top level. I think it would make sense to have him come into, accompany what we've already got. Let me just get to a couple of things in the chat. Blue Lounge saying, with the lack of centre back in the squad, Tuchel could be forced to play 4 at the back. Wouldn't make sense to see Ziyech leave. I mean, yeah. Pys, do you think there's any chance that, obviously, I know I'm not saying we're not going to get 2 centre backs in, but obviously we don't know what formation we're going to play next season. But if we did go with a 4 at the back, does that mean that we only need to sign 1 centre back, or is it very much whatever formation we still need 2?
I still think 2 for depth purposes as well. Like I still do think we'll play a 3 at the back, but I think if we do get that DM in as well, you'll probably see us transition more to a 4. In my opinion, that's something that you'll see. So yeah, I don't know whether the 4 will be our starting formation, but I think we'll see it a lot more. Again, talking about wing backs as well. I mean, Nizar mentioned earlier about a backup wing back or a wing back option. Like, it's never been full backs; it's always wing backs. So still, something tells you that we'll probably be playing 3 at the back.
Yeah, no, I would expect so as well. I mean, a lot of people said at the start, he's only playing 3 at the back because, that's what the players at the disposal at the time, that was kind of what suited it best. But he's stuck with it pretty much the whole time he's been here so far. So, I mean, there's nothing to me that would suggest that we would deviate away from that completely. So I'd probably expect next season to start with a back 3. You touched on it very briefly there, wing back options. As I read the thing from Lazar as well. Alonso probably going to be moving on. We'll get to him shortly. Cucurella at Brighton, good player. Do you think that would make sense? If Alonso was to move on, I know I've seen some things on Twitter saying, to spend like 30 million on a backup position, like backup wing back. Is that good use of funds? But for me, he's a good player, and as you say, we need depth. So, it's important that we get quality in backup areas and in the starting areas as well, so that we're not so exposed when we need to rest the starter or if the starter gets injured. Do you like the idea of signing him from Brighton?
I do, depending on the price. As you say, I think they bought him for 18 million, so I think it'd probably be more than 30 million. I think it'd probably be more towards 40, to be honest. And then you're talking about someone that you really would want to start. Obviously, we have to see what Chilwell comes back like as well, because if Chilwell isn't great, even if it takes him a few months to get into things, we would actually probably need a fullback or a wing back then to ease Chilwell back in. Because I don't think it's smart going to be rushing Chilwell back in anyway. I don't think that'd be a smart thing. I know we all want to see him back, but look, if Emerson or Alonso leaves, hopefully we can get some funds there to put towards maybe a Cucurella, or another one is Borna Sosa. I think he's absolutely brilliant. I mean, Stuttgart want to send him for like 20, 25 million. The guy's so consistent, so attacking. And yeah, if we're sticking with the wing backs, he'd be another great shout.
Yeah, no, for sure. And yeah, as I said, that depth's so important. I know some people bang the academy drum, and rightly so in certain aspects, but it's very much, we need quality. You don't just need depth, you need quality and depth as well. The difference it would have made this season if, say, we'd had Hakimi in the squad, which we could have done. That would have made such a big difference with Reece James' injury. If we'd invested on the left-hand side, perhaps in January, maybe, and whatnot. I know it's ifs and buts, but if you have that quality and depth as well, not just the depth, but the quality there as well, it does make a massive difference. And I think the days are gone now of, you can kind of get away with someone maybe subpar as a backup. If you're going to challenge for this league now, with your Cities and your Liverpools, you've got to have 2 pretty much top-class players in each position. And at Chelsea, they are going to play like a decent amount of football with obviously injuries, suspensions, the sheer amount of games we play going deep into most competitions. I don't think it's a problem having 2 quality players in each area. Just moving slightly away from defence, attack then. Obviously, same report, I think, from Nizar. Timo Werner, interest from Dortmund. Now, I know he's a fan favourite and he's had a little bit of a purple patch recently, but if we kind of step away and look at the bigger picture, it's not really worked out for him at Chelsea. His skill set is not as effective in very limited opposition. I don't think he's beefed up enough. He isn't, it's 2 seasons now. He's got 9 or 10 Premier League goals. it's not good enough. £50 million. It's probably in the best interest that everyone move that they both move on. I think he'd be good back at Dortmund. If we got 30-40 million from Dortmund, it's a very much deal accepted to cut our losses on Timo.
100%. I 100% would sell him for 30-40 million.
Yeah.
I think a lot of ruthless decisions the team made, like when we're talking about trying to catch Man City and Liverpool, I don't think Werner is one of the people that we should be relying on and trusting in our squad. He's not even really a backup. He plays all the time. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy, really. Everyone knows my opinions on Werner if you listen to me. So I don't really need to say much more, to be honest. I just don't
No.
think he suits this league. I don't think he suits our football. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the one at all. I mean, talking of the Bundesliga, another player that Tuchel admires, that's having a fantastic season, scoring a lot of goals, got his first call up to the French national squad, is another Leipzig player, Christopher Nkunku. Tuchel admirer of him. Obviously, there's a deal from Leipzig on the table, but I mean, I'm a little bit skeptical now on signing players from the Bundesliga just because of what's happened with Timo. If Werner was to leave and Nkunku was the replacement, would you be rating that, or is that very much kind of another gamble?
Another gamble, and also I don't think Leipzig are going to sell him. I'm pretty sure one of their bosses said the other day that they're not going to let him leave at all this summer for any price. So, yeah, for me, like, he's another, he's a decent player, but Bundesliga attackers, and I mean, I watched him for France the other week as well. And he just I was thinking, for someone who scored got 50 to 60 goal and assists this season, he just looked average. Like when he was playing in in an international game, and he weren't playing in the Bundesliga. So no, look, he's a good player. I mean, he scored a hat trick against City, I think, in the Champions League.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I wouldn't. I've always maintained that if we want a wide player, probably either Dembele, Rafinha, someone like that.
Yeah.
I'd be more inclined to sign them. Again, and Kunku's like another one. Like, where do you fit him in? He's really a midfielder, but he kind of plays in attack as well. So you got to think of, we've got Mount, we've got Havertz, we've got these players that already kind of do those roles anyway, and have those like I don't know, like Mount this season's played in the forward line, but he's a midfielder. Havertz kind of played everywhere. Like, we don't need another one to decide where, like, we need actual fit, someone that's just gonna play one position, or if it's in the front three, can play left or right. You know what I mean? We don't need another one that's a midfielder slash attacker slash creator slash whatever. You know what I mean? It's just crazy.
It's difficult, isn't it? I think I know it's all very well being linked with these names and admiring these players. It's great, but we've got to actually, look a bit deeper into it. And does that skill set transfer to how we play, how Thomas Tuchel wants Chelsea to play? Like, just because someone's had a great season or has scored a lot of goals in X league, we need to look more into it. That do they fit the system? Are they the right personality, etc.? Because I think we're just signing players or have signed players in the past because they're good, not thinking about whether they fit into what Chelsea do and what Tuchel's trying to mold. So I think we obviously got to be a lot smarter in the window. Before we move on to the Leeds game, there's a few comments in the chat about Hakim Ziyech. I mean, I wouldn't like to see him go. Oh, there's just a quick thing in the chat. Villa are winning 1-0. That's always good to see. Ziyech, quality for sure, definitely there. What does he have to do to get a game at the moment? And can you see him leaving in the summer? It seems that Tuchel very much, all right, he does play sometimes in a three at the back, but unless we play a back four, Ziyech is literally not really going to feature. I mean, do you feel it's odd how limited Ziyech's minutes have been recently?
I do. I can't believe he hasn't played more. I just think that Tuchel doesn't rate him in the three at the back formation, personally. I think whenever we seem to play a start a four, he seems to start. Obviously, he has the issue of, obviously, Mason Mount as well takes the kind of right-sided spot when we play a three at the back. And on the weekend, Pulisic was chose over him in the 10 spot. So, I mean, yeah, another one that could leave, but for me, I'd probably keep him as backup. I do think he's a good option. It's just over whether he wants to stay. I do rate Ziyech. I would keep him.
Yeah, I'd like to keep him as well. I think he's such a talented player. I think he deserves more of a chance. I mean, the one thing I've had a slight criticism of Tuchel for is in recent weeks, kind of this blind. I know we've called for continuity with a front three, which is great, rather than chopping and changing it every game. But like for me, there's been blind faith in certain attackers for consecutive games when they shouldn't be playing because they've not delivered at all. And I don't really know what the guys on the bench kind of have to do to get any minutes. So for me, I think, yes, you want a settled front three, but when that's not delivering, you need to use other options because they deserve an opportunity to kind of showcase what they can do. But yeah, obviously there's going to be, once the takeover is fully confirmed, as we get closer towards the window opening, more and more transfer news is going to appear. But mate, kind of back to the task at hand, obviously a disappointing 2-2 draw at home to Wolves. We were both there. The main talking point from that, other than throwing the lead away and Lukaku's 2 goals, I want to quickly talk about Marcos Alonso. Thomas Tuchel played the bust up, or whatever you want to call it, down in a press conference saying it was all dealt with, during the game and whatnot. What did you make of all that? But obviously, started on the pitch. I mean, I didn't see it when I was in the stand or anything, but very much, Tuchel shouting at Alonso. Alonso not pleased, feel he's kind of been made a scapegoat, used a Spanish slur to insult him. Varying reports saying it might have carried on into the dressing room, etc. It looks like it's been dealt with. I would personally expect him to play again this season for sure. Nothing to say that he's been left out of the squad for this Leeds game or anything like that. Where do you stand on this whole situation?
I mean, look, it's an interesting one. I don't like the fact that he did disrespect Tuchel. I mean, there's a clip on Twitter where he loses the ball and he's running back. Tuchel's clearly shouting him and he shouts back something. Yeah, I think he'll probably start tomorrow though, because Tuchel said the situation's been resolved. So I mean, we do need him, to be honest with you. I mean, who else are you going to play there? Saul, Aspi? Like, I don't know. It's like Alonso's still our best left wing back, and will be, and until Chilwell's back, and Alonso's going to leave anyway. So just play him in these last games and see what happens. But again, I mean, we've got Liverpool on Saturday. This game's on a Wednesday, so it's not much rotation. Maybe you do bench him tomorrow. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I was very, very low. It's very likely that he'll move on in the summer. His preference, obviously, is to return to Spain. I think a lot of Chelsea fans, or the majority of the fan base, will be glad when he moves on. And obviously, he's fallen out with Frank Lampard in the past. Obviously, a bit of a, if you want to call it a falling out, an incident with Thomas Tuchel against Wolves. It's probably time for him to move on. But yeah, I think, these things happen. And yeah, as I say, I don't think it's that big a deal. Obviously, you never want to see a player disrespecting the manager, but I suppose like in the moment things can get a little bit heated. But yeah, I think that's kind of it really. Much of a nothing. But yeah, I think obviously we do, as you say, whatever we think of him, we do need him for the rest of the season. Well, certainly for this Leeds game and obviously the FA Cup final, definitely. Moving on to the Leeds game, mate. This one for me very much has a similar feel to it as the Everton game. Going to a difficult ground where, all right, we're still playing for the top 4, but the fact we've got the FA Cup final 2 or 3 days later, do you think that's going to change our approach to this game at all? Because I mentioned at the top of the show, will players, be giving it 100%? No one's going to want to get injured before the cup final or whatnot. I mean, do you think it's going to alter our approach having this cup final so soon after this game?
No, because we need top 4 and we need to win tomorrow. Top 4 is bigger than the cup final. As much as people like to celebrate cups, I like to celebrate cups. But if we don't finish top 4, we ain't getting the transfer targets we want, and we ain't spending as much money as we want. We ain't attracting the players we want. It's as simple as that. So we have to get top 4, and I still believe we will, but it's going to be difficult. We have to win tomorrow, so we have to play a strong team for sure.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we'll get into the team a bit later on, but yeah, I'd be interested to see kind of how much rotation there is. I mean, Leeds, we only just beat them at Stamford Bridge. I think we had a last-minute penalty from Jorginho to win 3-2. We've not been in good form recently. 1 win in our last 5 games. Poor at Old Trafford, poor at Goodison. Last-minute win against West Ham. Poor against Wolves as well, despite being 2 goals up. Are you worried about our form? I mean, I know we just need to get to the end of the season now, but with a cup final coming up, 1 win in 5 games, or maybe could extend to 1 in 6 if we don't get the win tomorrow. I mean, is that worrying heading into a cup final? I mean, where do you think it's been going wrong in recent weeks? We just don't seem to be concentrating, or the intensity doesn't be there. Like for Wolves, for example, as soon as they turned up the intensity, once they got back to 2-1, there was only one team that was going to score, and it was them. I mean, what do you think is going wrong at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, well, half of our backline's in La Liga,
Yeah.
so I mean, that always helps. Not, I mean, that's great. I mean, yeah, the concentration, like you said, is definitely not there. It is worrying our form because if we score, it's like when we used to score first on the Tuchel, it was like, right, you're not scoring against us now.
Yeah.
Like we had that elite mentality where, like, we were so good in defense, and if we scored first, it was like you're screwed. Like the Champions League final, right?
Mm.
We defended so well. We scored first. We defended unreal. But this season, it just kind of, and lately, it seems like even if we score first, it's like there's always a chance we can concede. And obviously, if we concede the first goal, we make it very hard for ourselves because then teams like an Everton, like a Leeds, they will sit back. So we need to score the first goal tomorrow early, and we need to still keep going for more goals. But we just need to concentrate more. We need to play out of their press because they're going to press us like mad. Just play a proper game of football. Like the last game I enjoyed was the Old Trafford game. We still didn't
Yeah.
win. So, um, yeah, I mean, we've got to get the job done, but we have to defend better because if we don't improve our defensive structure, solidity, concentration, Mendy as well, been a bit suspect lately. Like we're gonna get battered in that final. There's no two ways about it. We can't turn up with a half-fast performance against Liverpool. So, we probably give one of our best performances in the Carabao Cup final. We took them to
Yeah.
penalties, and then it's penalties is flip a coin. But yeah, do I believe we can turn it around? Of course, Chelsea can change your mood so quickly. Like
Yeah.
you can go from so low to so high, or so high to so low. Like it's a yo-yo club. It's crazy. So let's hope that these next few weeks are just massive highs and not more of the same lows because we've been going through a lot lately. It's been horrible. And I can't I can believe. I was going to say I can't believe, but I can believe the fact that Wolves scored that late goal. 100%. Like
Yeah.
Connor Cody, like it just it's like you'd go into a cup final right now and you'd think like James Milner would score a brace or something like that. That's the sort of things. It's the way the things are going. Like you know what I mean. Even the Arsenal game in Ketia, we've literally made his Premier League career now. He's on fire because of us, because of that
Yeah.
bloody game. So I don't know what we're doing. It's awful.
No, it's not good enough. Do you know the mad thing is, mate? I mean, I think I've seen it somewhere the other day. I mean, someone might correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure, like all the games we've drawn this season, we've been winning all of them. I'm pretty sure that is right, or the vast majority. We've been winning the game, and we've allowed other teams to come back in. You look at some of those draws at home, Burnley, Everton B team. Like it's terrible. It's really poor. Obviously, Tuchel in the press today saying that yes, the takeover has been a distraction, etc. It's not an excuse, but it's hard not to ignore everything going off on the pitch. Now that that's kind of been put to bed and sorted out, you'd like to think that there can be full focus and there's no sort of outside noise surrounding the future of the club anymore. That maybe things will start to improve. It is difficult to tell, but again, do you think Leeds will sort of approach it very much like Everton did? High intensity, high press, like you mentioned from the off. They're going to make it very difficult for us. It's going to be a very intimidating atmosphere at Elland Road. They're fighting for their lives. I mean, when we went to Goodison, it looked like we just didn't want it. I mean, do you think there's any chance of Leeds having more desire than us for this game tomorrow?
Potentially. Yeah, could be, but I mean, I just if these players have got any sort of bottle or care in them, even the ones that are leaving, like Rudiger, Christensen, like you don't want to end the season on, potentially finishing fifth. So it doesn't even bode well going into your new club. Shows a lot about your mentality, in my opinion. So we need to just get that strong mentality back and just win the games, man. Like if we can't get 3 or 4 points out of Leeds, Leicester, and Watford, we don't deserve Champions League football anyway. And yeah, as you said, Leeds really fighting relegation, and they're gonna come at us. By the way, they ain't gonna sit back. No way. They don't play like that. So I could see this game working in our advantage, to be honest, because we suffer against low blocks, but against teams that attack us, hopefully we can outscore them.
Yeah, I think that's what it's gonna. I think that's what it's gonna come down to. Just be patient. The opportunities will come. Leeds need points from this game to stay up. So the more they go for it, the more opportunities that we should get in behind, and then hopefully, we'll be able to have the the finishing prowess in front of goal to put those opportunities away when they come. Mate, let's move into the starting lineup then. What we think we might what we'd go with tomorrow, guys. Before we get into the lineup, please do make sure you smash a like on this stream, and if you're watching now, you're not subscribed, please do click that subscribe button. Looking to hit 500 subscribers by the end of the season, so do help me out. Mate, I've got it lined up as like the standard 3-4-3. I know we've seen kind of more of a sort of a 10 behind two strikers more recently. Are you very much expecting this to be like the formation tomorrow night? I mean, would you go with the back four maybe? Like, could there be? I don't know how much Tuchel's going to look ahead to the cup final in terms of selecting the sides, but I mean, would you stick with a variation of this what we've got at the moment?
Yeah, I probably would. Obviously, we might play that sort of formation where we had the 10,
Yeah.
then the two strikers last game. But yeah, I mean, you can start in a 3-4-3 and then kind of, I mean, the right-sided player will drift around and kind of be that 10. So yeah, I mean, Tuchel did mention in his press comments that we conceded too many transitions and there was too much space last game. So I expect us to try and, you know, allow less space in the field as well, which is why I think we might play the 10 tracking back as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, obviously, goalkeeper is fairly obvious. It's going to be Edouard Mendy. What have you made of his form recently? Because it's not, it hasn't. I've got to say, I don't think he's been fantastic since he's come in. But I'd say definitely the last couple of months and large parts of this calendar year, the form's not been great, has it? I mean, I don't think it's something to worry about. But are you a little bit concerned about a few more errors creeping into Mendy's game?
Yeah, I still would start him though because I feel
Yeah.
like what's the point in playing Kepa now? Like it's
No, it's
only
not.
like you might as well just keep Mendy in. You know, he's hopefully regain his confidence back. He's still a top goalie. I just think he made a great save in the first half. By the way, I
Yeah.
think he saved it with his face, and I was like, yeah, he's that's what he used to do. But he's definitely not been as good as late. I mean, the second goal from Wolves, I feel like he came out of his box and then like went back in. Like he doesn't usually hesitate like that. So. Yeah, another game to prove his point tomorrow night, and you know maybe win that spot for the cup final.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Back three, always an interesting conversation. Let's start with Thiago Silva. Now, obviously, 37 years of age, not getting any younger. Has played a lot of football this season. Obviously, he should definitely be playing the cup final. Is this a game that you think Silva could be rested for? Could be on the bench and someone else come in, maybe Christensen?
Yeah, I actually do think so. I think Silva needs to play in the cup final, and I think although he's done stuff like Wednesday to Saturday before, I feel like he might be rested in this game, especially because he played the last game. So yeah, I probably won't be having Silva in my predicted 11.
No,
Doesn't
I
mean
mean,
yeah,
I think Rudiger definitely plays
yeah.
in one of the positions. I agree with you. I think it would be smart for Silva to be rested for this game in with the cup final in mind. So having said that, I guess Christensen, providing he doesn't get any stomach cramps on match day, will slot into the middle of that back three. And then obviously we've seen last few games we've seen Aspie start as the third centre back. I was very surprised against Wolves that from the bench he didn't go with Chalobah. He went with Malang Sarr. I thought I was slightly surprised by that. Aspie or Chalobah for you tomorrow night? I mean, I don't know if Aspie can continue there or not. I didn't think he was great against Wolves. What do you reckon? I'm not really sure why Chalobah's not really playing very much at the moment.
Yeah, I mean this one's interesting. Did a predicted team with Lawrence earlier,
Yeah,
and I went with Reece James here,
yeah.
which was interesting. I think, I mean, he played wing back last game. I feel like he might play centre back this game, especially because of what we did with our midfield. So yeah, I'll stick with my same lineup as earlier.
Yeah, gonna go Reece James in that back three.
Yeah,
Yeah, mate. Well, why not? Like, I'm happy to stick with that. If it wasn't going to be James, you go Aspie or Chalobah.
yeah, I'd probably go Chalobah. I think
Yeah,
Aspie's been looking a bit dodgy lately, to be honest.
mate, he
Last
has.
few months as well, to be honest. Yeah. Um, yeah, I'd probably go Chalobah. I do seem to rate him as well quite highly.
Yeah, sorry, mate. Don't know why I've left the stream a sec there. Just get back the screen up again. Yeah. So obviously, fullback. Then, if you're going James, mate, are you saying we're going to see Ruben back at right wing back?
Yeah, that's what we went for. Again, this is based on the fact that Jorginho or Kante will be fit to start the game. Obviously, Jorginho, Kante are back in training. Tuchel said
Yeah.
they're not 100%. We don't know yet, but I feel like one of them might play 60 minutes, which is why I went with Ruben in right wing back as well, because he moves into midfield. Like, he's going to give more cover as well. He's kind of like a hybrid role. So with the fact that Tuchel said we conceded so many transitions last game and there was too much space, I feel like this hybrid role might be suited to Ruben again.
Yeah, to be honest, mate, like never have thought it at the start of the season. I actually quite like Ruben in this kind of hybrid role at the right wing back. I think it's quite good. I really do. I mean, obviously, it remains to be seen who's going to start in midfield. But I do like Ruben at that right wing back. He obviously said he can come in field to midfield, make a three-man midfield there. Moving to the left-hand side, then we spoke about him earlier. I wouldn't feel comfortable with Malang Sarr or Aspie there. I mean, do you think it's Alonso again? I know we need him for the cup final. He's playing a lot of minutes. Obviously, he got 45 minutes rest against Wolves. Or mate, could we see Saúl from the off?
Yeah, I did predict Saúl, but I actually almost ironically forgot that Alonso did get subbed off. So, um, you know what? I will put Alonso in here now because I almost forgot he got subbed off when thinking about my lineup earlier. So, yeah, I guess he has had quite a bit of rest. So, I would go with Alonso, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Saúl. I mean, we have a cup final on Saturday, but again, this game's so important.
It
So,
is.
you want someone who's going to contribute goals as well. Alonso might pop up with the odd goal, so like he did against Man U. So maybe he does start between those two, I think.
Yeah, no, 100%. Obviously, midfield then. We haven't got Ruben in there. Kante and Jorginho have been back in training. It's going to be touch and go, Tuchel was saying. If you were going to start one of those two, you starting Kante or Jorginho. And with the cup final in mind as well, obviously Kante probably going to be more important for that game, you'd imagine. Who would you be picking to start or to give at least 60 odd minutes to out of the two of them?
I would go with Jorginho because I think we are going to need someone that is going to be able to pass out of the press very quickly. I think he's better on the ball than Kante, in my opinion, and under pressure as well. I think Kante can be a bit erratic, so I would go with Jorginho, especially with my second midfielder being Kovacic. I think that would probably be what I go with, especially because I think Tuchel's probably going to play Kante in the final. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Again, Kante's another one that I know Jorginho's not been great either, but Kante for me really has been looked off it this season. For me personally, I think even in the Champions League, like
Yeah,
I don't know,
he's
he's just not. He's not like that world class Kante that we saw a couple
mate,
of years ago. You know?
he's been dropping
Definitely
like
declining.
he's been dropping average performances like for large parts of this season. Don't get me wrong, there's been like a few vintage Kante performances, but more often than not, Kante by his own high standards, he's been quite poor this season for large parts of it. He really has. So yeah, I mean, Kante, you'd say he's a big game player. I know in some big games he's not delivered, but you'd very much think in the final, if he's fit, he definitely starts. But yeah, Jorginho and Kovacic. Kovacic obviously back to full fitness now. Do you think it's? I mean, hopefully we can be in a position where we're winning. We can take some of these guys off and rest them before the final. Moving to the front three, then Mason Mount didn't play at all against Wolves. Would you expect him to come back into the lineup for this Leeds game?
Yeah, I do think he'll play. Again, someone that obviously got rested at the weekend. I definitely think he'll play in this game for sure. He doesn't, I'd be shocked if he doesn't really. He's one of our main starters.
Yeah, no, 100%. It definitely does. I mean, this is where the next two positions get interesting because obviously Werner played a full 90 at the weekend. Not really sure how, if I'm being perfectly honest. But Christian Pulisic, I actually have to say, I actually thought he did quite well in that number 10 role. Obviously got the assist for Lukaku, played quite a few key passes in that Wolves game. I liked him there. Do you think he's done enough to start for you?
Yeah, I think it would be a bit batshit crazy if Tuchel dropped him. To be honest, I mean he scored 2 goals. If you want to get confidence, if you want to truly keep Lukaku, which I don't know if he does, but even for sakes of like resale value, if he has a really good end to the season, like you could actually probably get quite a big bid for him. Teams might put that trust in him if they have seen that he's had a good end to the season. So yeah, I would start him again.
Yeah, I think he deserves to start again. I think this. I know the standards not been great for Lukaku this season, but I felt the game against Wolves was his best game in a while. I thought that second goal particularly was really good from the Pulisic ball. Takes it first time. It's a great finish, and it takes a bit of bottle to when you're in bad form. The fans are kind of on your back, etc. To take that penalty and obviously put it away. So yeah, I mean, I was encouraged again. Whether it's enough for him to kickstart his season and show that he can be the number 9 we bought him to be, that remains to be seen. But yeah, I think having scored 2 goals, I think he definitely would be mad not to start him again. That leaves us one more position then. Christian Pulisic played from the off last time in that number 10 role. I actually quite liked him there, thought he was quite effective. Do you think we could see Pulisic used there again?
See, this one's very, very difficult. I think for me, because I was going to go with like Mount as kind of like the 10 and then the kind of 2
Yeah,
strikers, I chose Havertz. But then again, I mean, some guys made a good point to me. It's never really Havertz and Lukaku. It's usually Havertz or Lukaku. So
yeah,
um, what I would like to see is Havertz and Lukaku, but my predicted player to start next to Lukaku is actually going to be Werner again. I think Werner with the high line, I think Tuchel will look at that, the amount of space that Leeds give. I think if there's one of the teams that you would probably start him against, it's this team, which is why I'm so surprised he started against Wolves, because stylistically, if you look at Wolves versus Leeds, if you was going to start him in one of them, you'd play him against Leeds, but it looks
yeah.
like he might start both of them.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised. I think like Pulisic would deserve to start this game, but I think I agree with you, mate. I think Werner will play. It definitely would, on paper, suit his skill set more. Leeds, high line, high press. There should be quite a lot of spacing behind, which suits Werner's game perfectly. But to be honest, I'd probably rather Pulisic started. But if Werner starts, I mean, he's been okay recently, so I don't think it wouldn't be a complete disaster. But I mean, it would be harsh if Pulisic was benched. I thought he actually played better than Werner at the weekend. But yeah, this last position is quite hard to pick. But I mean, to be fair, mate, if that was rolled out tomorrow night, that team, that's still more than good enough to get the win against Leeds for sure. One last thing remains then, mate. Score prediction for tomorrow night. What are you expecting? I mean, to be honest, mate, I'm at the point now where I don't care what the score is as long as we win. I don't care how we score, who scores it. Just get the points on the board, get this top 4 done and dusted as soon as possible. But yeah, I think this is going to be a really tough game. I don't think there's going to be a lot of goals in it. I mean, I'd like to say we're going to win, but I've predicted us to win the last few games and we haven't won. So maybe if I go for something slightly different, then we might actually end up winning. I think this is going to be really tough, mate. I'm going to go a 1-1 draw. I mean, how do you see it potentially playing out?
I went 2-0 Chelsea earlier, but I could see a draw, like a 1-1 or a 2-2. I just think there's going to be goals in this game because I think it's going to be a really open game. Leeds are going to want to attack at home. They desperately need a win. I don't think they'll take a draw, to be honest. They need to win, which I think is why I'm going 2-0, because I think it'll work in our advantage. But actually, I'll go 2-1 because I think they're probably going to score at home with the way we're defending, to be honest.
Yeah, no, 100%, mate. Let me just quickly mean this. This is what I mean. How do you expect consistency from players when you get benched? Yeah, no, it's hard. It is hard. I mean, like personally, I probably would start Pulisic, but it is really difficult. You've got a lot of options up the top end of the pitch, and it is hard. And someone who probably doesn't deserve to miss out will end up missing out. But I mean, yeah, Pys, thank you so much for your time. As always, going to be an interesting game tomorrow night. A game that we need to win. Get some good momentum going into that cup final at the weekend. Guys, make sure you follow Pys on Twitter, link in the description below, and his website is linked there as well. Oh, mate, you started a new podcast today. Do you want to tell people about that quickly?
Yeah, ChelseaFC365.com is the website that I work on, and we've started a podcast which we're looking to get a lot of kind of like journalists on during the summer window and stuff. Like I did an episode with Ben Jacobs today, so that's on Spotify. CFC365 podcast, it'll come up first episode. So yeah, it's about an hour long. If you want something to listen to in the background or something really, really interesting, a lot of stuff out of about Todd Boehly, the takeover, transfer plans, long-term plans of Marina and Buck, things like that. Yeah, lots of information in there, which I'm probably going to tweet out as well. So yeah, I'd go and have a listen to that. I highly recommend it.
Perfect. Guys, make sure you head over to Spotify and check that out. Thank you so much for tuning in as always. Smash a like on the stream, click that subscribe button, and I'll be back tomorrow after the Leeds game for match reaction. Hopefully, we'll be in a good mood. But until then, guys, take care and up the Chelsea.